Hello, everyone. Welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone, and I've got a full Spotlight Cash Guide for what's coming out tonight for you. We've got Alioth, we've got Hit Monkey, and we've got Snowguard. With these cards, I have an absolute ton of advice. I have decks for everything for you with these cards, including a look at the variants, everything you could possibly need to figure out if you should use your precious Spotlight Caches on these cards, along with my own recommendation. Hopefully, you find value in this. On this channel, we give you 2 brand new decks every single weekday, sometimes way more. We did already 2 decks this morning. We're going to have something like 10 more decks in this video, and then we'll have 2 more tomorrow morning. You've got all the decks you could possibly need. Almost all of the decks are proven. These are decks that get infinity borders, get infinite tickets, get infinite on ladder, and help you climb. They are proven. We teach you how to play them. We help you out. And hopefully that's enough to get you to subscribe, like, and comment. All of that is totally free. One more thing, though. We're still in the process of the biggest giveaway in all of Marvel Snap. All you have to do is subscribe and comment on this video and any video until Thursday to be entered to win a Loki Season Pass if that's a card you're still looking for. So hopefully you find interest and do. This is Alioth. Alioth is a Series 5 card that is 6,000 tokens. Unrevealed. Destroy all enemy cards played here this turn, including unrevealed cards. The most powerful effect, like on its face, we've seen in ages. It basically says if you are within 4 in a lane, unless there's a Silk, a Doom, a Captain Marvel type card in play, you win that lane. They can't play a card there and beat you without Cosmo War Armor. That's absurdly powerful. That's it's one of the more powerful things, but Cosmo Armor can stop it. So can just being ahead in other lanes and winning elsewhere. So we're going to have to figure out how to leverage that to make this work. I think I have a bunch of decks that can do that. I think Alioth is going to be great. These are the variants. I know some of you decide to buy cards based on their variants. We've got a Hip coming out 9/12 tomorrow. That is really nice. I like that one a lot. We've got the Spotlight coming out literally as the card comes out if you open enough Spotlight caches. That's from Adia. I believe all the Spotlights this month are Adia. This one feels the most cloud-like, but it's also not my favorite. And we've got Kai's Future Spotlight. We know that Alioth will be back in Spotlight caches on 11/7. If you choose not to get the card now, you can always save for 11/7 and get them in Spotlights then. I think that one's okay. Like, it's not bad. I think the Hip is, like, pretty clearly the best. I'm a Hip fan. I also just don't love the design for the evil cloud monster thing, so I don't know. A little bit of A, a little bit of B. There are no other variants spoiled for this card as of right now, so hopefully the Hip shows up in your spot if you want a variant. Otherwise, you're going to have to open some Spotlights. We've got 2 more variants in Spotlight caches, again, just helping you make decisions. We've got an awesome Hit Monkey. However, I think this is only the second best Hit Monkey. I think the one where, like, he's jumping on a Hitman's face with the sort of yellow, like, splash background is cooler. Okay. Snowguard now is a card where variants do matter, given her recent redesign to putting the Hawk and Bear into your hands instead of the Hawk and Bear being how she transforms. I think that Snowguard is now like a meta card. This is a card that matters for the game that you really want to try and get. So, like, spoiler, if you need Snowguard or Hit Monkey and Alioth, you should 1,000% be opening. I think it's worth it. Snowguard is great. Do I like this variant? No, not really. I think the face looks kind of plasticky and it bothers me, and I don't know why. I also don't like that there's like there's a deer in the background. She can't turn into a deer. The bear doesn't look right, like super bearish. There's some other bird in the background, right? Like, I get what they're going for. It just doesn't totally fit for me. All right, the synergies for Alioth. We've got Galactus. Turns out Galactus is good. We've got Sandman. We've got Destroy cards. We've got Zola. We've got Priority / Early Lane Win cards. And we've got Professor X. Any of these should work with Alioth really well. Basically, the logic is if you Galactus, then you play Alioth, you win that lane. If you've got Sandman, they can only play one thing. If you destroy it, you win, even if it's unrevealed. This is a destroy card, so playing destroy with other destroy helps benefit things like Death and Zola, although obviously you would need ramp at that point. Zola-ing this if you can get Alioth out on 5 or 6, and then Zola-ing it and saying, I'll just destroy your other 2 lanes the last turn of the game seems, insanely freaking strong. If you're ahead going into turn 6 in multiple lanes, Alioth will basically lock up the game. And Professor X locks up 1 lane, so if you Alioth another, you're likely to win. We're going to cover a lot of decks for Alioth. Our guy Safety Blade has a bunch more over on Marvel Snap Zone. Safety is a freaking genius at card games. Check those out too. If you would like a personally built Alioth deck, particularly with your level of card pool, please check out the Marvel Snap Zone Discord. There's a section called Podcast Chat with the hosts that we hang out in and will happily help you build for this or any other card to suit your collection. The first deck we have for you is Alioth Ramp Galactus. This is where I'm starting. I think this deck is going to be meta sick. Also worth noting for anyone brand new here, the variants you see on screen are the variants I either have or use unless otherwise noted. Technically don't have that Odin, but look, I'm going to play enough Conquest this month to get that Odin. So I'm going to have that Odin. This isn't necessarily the Nebula I always use or the Wave or I always use. I have multiple variants for them. We'll talk more about that as we see the others, but this is the Spotlight Nebula and the Hip Wave Hips rule. Okay, so basically you want to play Nebula, and then you want to Electro or Wave into Galactus. Nice and simple, right? If you Wave into Galactus, I'd probably, for this deck, try and do that on turn 4 to 5, if possible. But if you do it on turn 3-4, you can Wave Galactus and then play either Arrow or Black Panther, and you should be totally fine. And then you can spend the last turn of the game dropping a either Leader or Alioth to close things up. There's other play lines though than the basic Galactus thing, because you can also go Electro into Arrow into Galactus just fine, or Electro into Panther into Galactus, and make them think you're doing something else. The other main play is what you'd really, really like to do here, and I'd love to get American Chavez in this to make this more consistent, is go Electro into Sandman, and then you in one lane you drop a Black Panther, in another lane you drop Zola on that Panther. Or you do the same thing with Electro into Sandman, and then you can go Alioth into Zola, or Leader into Zola, or Alioth into Odin, etc., etc. Arrow, you can also go Wave into Odin, into, say, a Doom, Arrow, Leader, whatever. You can, at that point, play something else on top of them. It's sick. The sheer amount of plays you have with this deck is completely sick. I think this is going to be a meta killer. I think this deck might actually be a problem, thanks to Alioth. It's going to be really, really, really strong, considering all the things you can do with it. I think Alioth after Galactus and Alioth after Sandman are 2 of the strongest things you can do, and combining them is going to be absolutely sick. It works almost like an old Arrow in that sense. Next up, we have Safety's Loki Galactus. I just hit Infinite with this. It was running Death. It should probably still be running Death. I built this version of it before I hit Infinite with this deck. This exact deck was this morning's deck with Death in that Alioth spot, and it was my Infinite deck this season. I think I would actually, with hindsight being 2020, end up cutting either Jeff or Nebula for Alioth and keep Death here, because Death is unbelievable in the deck. I did not recognize exactly how small Death would get, given how much other stuff people are playing. Your basic strategy here is you can play Galactus. If you play Galactus, then you play Alioth after Galactus, ideally on turn 5 and 6, you win the game. The opponent can do nothing. It's destroying their unrevealed cards. If you have Galactus, you likely have priority. Alioth is saying you don't even get to reveal. Have a great day. GG's. Loki is here as an awesome backup plan. If you want more on how to play this deck, please check this morning's video. It's got a full breakdown of exactly what and how to play this. I just want to note that if you keep Death in this, you can go Electro into, I don't care, Hobgoblin, and then they're probably not competing for the Hobgoblin lane, so you Alioth elsewhere, right? Or if you think they're gonna try and like counter your Galactus, you Alioth there, depending on what your opponent is playing. And now you've killed a bunch of their stuff, and then your last turn can be death and something else. And that just seems like completely bonkers. Like this is gonna be a wildly strong deck. You're gonna win a lot of games of Snap and Cubes with this deck. It's like, let me just tell you, I lost 2 games from 94 to 100 with this deck. It's really strong. Next up, we have a Thanos Alioth. This is our Thanos Lactus Alioth. Um, Fundamentally, we've got ramp cards to help everything come together. This one in particular can go Psylocke on 4 into Alioth on 5, or Timestone on 4 into Alioth on 5, or Psylocke or Timestone on 3 into Professor X. Once you've got a Professor X out, Alioth becomes so much more powerful because now your Alioth only has to win 1 lane. That's insane. You've also got Shang to win a lane. You've got Killmonger, help make a nice cheap death should you want to. Again, like people who are like Alioth might not be that good. I'm like, well, the Galactus shells are completely sick at the very least, right? You can end up Galactusing and then Alioth wins you the game, or Professor X and Death win you the game. You can wave and then say you can only play you can wave and Jeff on 5 and then play Alioth and be like, you cannot go wide enough to beat me now. Good luck, right? Like if I can ramp into a Devil Dinosaur on 4, or just play a bunch of stones and be reasonably ahead, and then go wave Jeff, wave Daredevil, wave Psylocke, whatever, who cares? Wave in another card, wave in some stones, and then Alioth the last turn. Like that Devil Dino is going to win 1 lane. Now Alioth has 1. Good luck. Good luck stopping this kind of deck. Like especially because you have to try and counter Galactus also. We've also got Alioth Deathstrike. This is a fun build that I was playing earlier. I actually got an Infinity ticket, got to round 4 of Infinite last season with this deck. This deck is so much better than it looks. It was just running a cheap card. It was running a 1 instead of Alioth. Who cares which one? But this deck is really good. So you've got your Forge into Brood into Absorbment, which isn't as good as it was, but it's still damn good. You're also trying to pump your things with Okoye and Brood. If you are pumping your Lady Deathstrike, it becomes a great meta card. If you are pumping your Black Panther, it becomes a great meta card. And then Iron Lad is completely freaking busted here because Iron Lad is an automatic 6, 7, 8, 9 with Forge. Our Lady Deathstrike is nuts, and then you can Zola it. It can also be a 6, 7, 8, 9 power Alioth that you can then Zola. You can also just make yourself a huge ass Black Panther and do that. If you happen to get Lady Deathstrike or Alioth with your Iron Lad, you can then Absorbing Man it and copy it that way. In addition to a lot of early game power from your Forge Brood type cards, or your Nakia. Like one of the things I like to do is I like to go Nakia Absorbing Man into Deathstrike, which is really nice, or Nakia Absorbing Man into Black Panther. And these are super powerful things. Like as your opponent's trying to build a powerful board, you should be able to ruin their life in the process. It's really fun. And when your opponent gets your cards, like if they're playing Loki, they don't get crap that they really want, while you are just rolling in a bunch of powerful stuff that you're doing. So make sure you check it out. Like your Okoye, all your stuff will be 1 bigger than theirs. You've already by then played your Nakia. They still have to play that card, so on and so forth. This deck looks like crap. I almost made Elite Hasa, who's like a rank 200 level. Like he hits rank 200 on ladder and so on. He's very, very good. He played this deck. He was with me while I played it when I hit the Infinity ticket, and he was like, I'll make everyone I've ever met follow you, subscribe to you, if you can get an Infinity with this. And it turns out I only got to game 4. It's a damn shame. It's got bad matchups, everything does, but I think Alioth does a lot to cover up a lot of those bad matchups. Perhaps this wants Jubilee, maybe not with Brood, but Alioth is going to be sick, so strongly consider playing that card. Next, we've got W's Thanos. This is our friend, the former Wobolos, is W. This is a deck that's built more around Professor X. cuts the Galactus, basically for a more consistent Professor X go wide package. I threw Loki in just because like my hand should be big, and sometimes with Thanos you've got a handful of big air, and saying I'm going to chuck my big air and instead just try your card seems good to me. I'm telling you, I said it in this morning's video, I'm more and more convinced you should just have Loki if your deck has like a real downside as like a backup plan. Oh crap, I just drew a bunch of like sixes and not Lockjaw. Well, I'll Loki. Let's see if your deck works better for me. And then if you do draw that Lockjaw, you can throw their cheap stuff into it later. That kind of thing. I think that works here. I wanted Lockjaw in this deck, but I felt like it was doing enough. You can conceivably cut Shangri Lad for Lockjaw here. Alioth is the same thing here. You get an early Professor X or Devil Dino, right? And at that point, like let's say you get a turn 4 Professor X and you miss, so you claw to win, and then you know that they're going to try and go over you in that claw lane because claw's not that big. Alioth, bye. Like that kind of play is just going to be sick. You're going to win 1,000 games of Marvel Snap this way. This deck is going to be fun. Is it going to be as like oppressive as the other decks? Maybe, maybe not, right? But like this deck looks an awful lot more fun. I think I'm probably going to cut Shang-Chi for Lockjaw, but like I'm not guaranteed. I'm a little worried about the Loki popping up when I don't want it to from the Lockjaw, but like I think I'm just willing to risk it because like seriously, considering how powerful Loki is getting a bunch of new cards really that big of a downside? Probably not, right? So I'm excited to try this version. Next up, we've got Evolved Alioth. This might be the oppressive version. Um, this is the W had Sunday's deck was W's new evolved Doom Wave. I cut Doom because Claw gives me a play on 5, whereas Doom doesn't because I'm adding an extra 6 in Alioth. This is going to be obnoxious. I don't know how else to put it. You've got an armor, right? So like it's not super ideal. But like if you're armoring, that means you're hulking for like 18 power, and that's totally fine. You've got Storm, you can win a Storm lane with your Sunspot Nebula Misty nonsense, your Cyclops nonsense. Turn 5, you wave, turn 6, you Alioth. And like, let's say they go big in the armor lane. Well, you've got a whole ass other lane to play Alioth in and just enjoy. Like this deck is going to be a problem. Like, because it's already like 80% of the way to being a problem. I think this is like the real Loki killer. I'm not sure what the hell Loki does to really like beat this, except that their Alioth costs 5, and maybe that's enough to like a little bit. But this deck is going to be absolutely sick, right? So like Wave or a Claw on 5 with Alioth on 6 seems silly to me. Because Doom is amazing. It sucks to cut Doom, but Claw gets you like 75% of the way there. And then your Alioth to just be like, screw you, I win now, is probably the rest of the way there as needed. Especially because you can move Jeff there. You can play it on top of a Sunspot that grew a bit, a Nebula that grew a little bit, and just close out the damn game that way. Should work. Should be great. Check it out. Next up, I don't know if this works, but I had to try it. Guardians of the Alioth. Basically, I think Loki might kill Jean, but if it doesn't, this should be a ridiculously good home because I can go I can basically get so big in that Jean lane you can't compete, right? I can play Nebula one spot, and then I can go like Jeff, and then I can go Jean into Star Lord and Rocket, right? And now you're sad. Or I can play Juggernaut and force you to have to play there extra, while I play Wave and Jeff there the last turn. And now you have only one card to play. It has to go there, and I've got power elsewhere. Well, if you have to play there, that's when Alioth comes in to rock that Jean lane. If I don't see Jane, I've also got Storm and Juggernaut. Storm and Juggernaut should, as always, be really good at stealing a lane, especially if that is a Nebula lane. Now I've got enough power there to basically counter everything I could possibly need to. Jeff also helps. And if that's the case, they've got one of two places to play the last turn. Alioth. Daredevil lets me know what I want to do on turn 5. Maybe I want to wave. Maybe I want to Juggernaut. Maybe I want to just drop Gamora to like lock that lane up, and then I can Alioth elsewhere. I think Alioth might finally like make Guardians without like running Professor X just meta. This deck should be really good. I'm very curious to see what someone like Dara could do with this because like Dara is one of the best lockdown players. I'm gonna give it to Savage Yeti, who's another phenomenal lockdown player who like hit him with Guardians a ton. I think that this could be a thing. I'd also really like to fit Professor X here, but I couldn't get there. It was one too many things to do on 5. Also, worth noting, your turn 6, if you're not Aliothing, doesn't have to be America. It can be both Gamora and Rocket, which is, I mean, a downside of the same power as America, but an upside of, Gamora gets 5, right? So, an upside of 7 more. So, an upside of 16 power on the last turn. Seems like that's probably pretty damn good. I believe this is our last one, Alioth Destroy. I wanted to put Alioth in a core Destroy deck. I needed an extra turn. I was torn between Electro, which I could then destroy, and Magic, which is a little more dangerous given that I believe Snow Guard will be a lot more popular shortly. I decided to go with Magic for now just because like there's only 3 real Destroy cards in the game if I'm not running Destroyer. If I'm running Alioth, I can't really run. So the general idea here is you can either use X23 to ramp into doing some nonsense like Null into Alioth or an early like Null into Nimrod type BS, or you can use Magic to do the same thing. You always have the Shuri Nimrod plan here. You go Shuri Nimrod, then you go Carnage and Venom, or Deathlock and Venom, or Venom and Deathlock, and you're spreading 24 power into multiple lanes. That works out real well. It's a very powerful thing to do. If you can do that and then have a last turn for Alioth, Null, or Zola, you win. If they don't turn off your magic and this deck does anything it's supposed to, you're going to win. It's so strong. Enjoy those victories. Have a great day, right? Like that's the end of it. If you have Null, don't be afraid to Nimrod on 4, especially if you can Carnage and Venom on 5. And at that point, dropping a Null on 6 is just completely insane. So is dropping an Alioth at that point, right? You're going to win a lot of games of Snap. This deck is insane. Please be wary of magic being turned off. Make sure you play so that magic does not have to win you the game, but can win you the game. Or, in addition to magic being turned off, be wary of armor. Armor is around a lot. Luckily, you're not really destroying things until late in the game, so like armor is often too late by then. Final thoughts. Well, Alioth looked better before Loki. When we thought Loki was going to be mid or bad, Alioth was like going to be a meta breaker. Now it's just great. But do you like Galactus or General Destroyer or any of those other 1,000 decks? Do you miss Lane Lockdown? Do you wish Guardians was good? Like, I mean, he's probably pretty good. It's hard for me to imagine Alioth not at least being a very good, one of the top 5-ish 6 cost cards in the game, if not higher. He's probably immediately in contention with Doom as the top 6 cost card you actually want to play in a game. Because, like, I don't know if he's better than Thanos or America, but you don't really play Thanos or America to play Thanos and America card themselves. They're there for the other benefits they give you. Doom is the best 6 cost to play in the game. I think Alioth immediately goes in contention for that spot. Let's talk some Hit Monkey. Hit Monkey is Series 5 still, which is obnoxious. Bring it down a level, second dinner, like now. This is unreal. Former Season Pass, 6,000 tokens. Hit Monkey gains a +2 power for each other card you played this turn. This was broken when it was a 2-0, and it was completely nuts in bounce. It was great in Sarah, it was great in bounce. It was a meta card. Like straight up, just a meta card. Is it now? No, it's a good card. It's not great, it's just good. We're going to go over 2 decks with it. But first, this is the main one. This is where you're going to see the deck 90% of the time. Almost always, you'll note I didn't make this. I just went and found the most popular one for Marvel Snap Zone. Because, like, it's this deck within 1 or 2 cards. Your basic gist is you want to play a early power game of Kitty and Angela with cards like Bishop until you can get to Sarah on 5. And then if you get to Sarah on 5, your Chandra Enchantress costs 3. Your Hit Monkey costs 2. That's 5. Your Mysterio costs 1. Have a great day. You win. If you played Nova, you can always do a Killmonger thing and then play Kitty after to power up your whole board. Your Angela gets big, so on. If you don't need all of these things are ending up pumping up your Bishop as you're going along. Deck's really good, really strong. And like if you are facing any freaking bots, this is like Sarah is the ultimate bot farming deck. What Sarah does is it puts power on the board late, and bots can't tell that's going to happen, or like the bots in the game right now can't tell that's going to happen. So they play, they snap at you, and then you can snap back, and you can steal a ton of extra cubes. We've also got Snowguard, who's coming out. Snowguard is a meta card, Series 4, 3,000 tokens. on reveal, add a hawk and bear aura to your hand. Any 1/2 that's adding 2/2/3s to your hand is going to be good, even if they're vanilla. Like, this is like just better than cards like Sentinel. It's on freaking real how good this is. It synergizes with Collector and Loki. It synergizes with the Quinjet. It synergizes with an absolute ton. It's so good. In addition, the Hawk is game winning often. Let's say there's a Death's Domain at the end of the game, the opponent has priority. You can just drop the Hawk there and then a bunch of cards on top of it. The Hawk can turn off Limbo on turn 5 or 6. It can do a billion things. Meanwhile, the bear is 2/3 on reveal, trigger the effect of this location. My favorite thing to do with the bear is I play it on the Raptors location, and then they have 4 Raptors there, and I have 3 Raptors and a 2/3. And I have now usually won that lane shorting a Claw, or I guess a Blue Marvel would be difficult. But like, I've mostly won that lane. It's really good. You can it doesn't work with like the destroy on turn X locations, but it does work amazingly with the energy locations, almost all the energies. Think of like an immediate on reveal, not an on this turn reveal, and the bear is really good. All right, this is arguably the best Loki. As I was pulling it, this was the highest win rate one I could find, actually across multiple sites now. It seems like we're normalizing into this being the quote-unquote right build. I'm a little surprised to see Shang in it, not gonna lie. I'm also a little surprised to not see Nick Fury in it, not gonna lie. However, the stats are the stats, and they're saying that this is the way to go. It's unsurprising that a good Card Z version running Jeff, Shang, and Legion is ending up being the best, but it's also, there's a bit of selection bias because this is the one that I believe AM is pushing and Lambie is pushing. So like, when the best players are playing the deck with the most competitive communities, they tend to have higher win rates, right? Still, this is an awesome home for Snowguard. You're basically saying I've got Angela and Collector with both grow. I've got Coulson and Snowguard to add cards to my hand, and then I take your cards, and as long as I have Quinjet out, I've got 1,000 cheap things to play and I win. And when I don't have that, I can play a good cards game, right? Like, you're gonna win a fair amount of games of Snap going like uh having like, I don't know, Quinjet Angela into Coulson into like a bunch of like cheaper stuff into like a 3 and a Kitty on that Angela into Legion or some other cheap stuff into like just a last turn splash, right? Like, you're gonna win games of Snap just playing this deck normally, especially if Coulson gives you good stuff. Like, a lot of that's gonna be dependent on Coulson giving you good stuff and finding a good Shang target. But okay, so let's go Quinjet Collector, right? Now we've got 4 power. Then we've got Coulson, so that Collector is now 4 power. You've got a nice cheap card, so you can play that cheap 4 with Kitty, and now your Collector is getting an extra power. Your Kitty is growing. Great. Now it's turn 5, and you go Angela Snowguard, or sorry, you play the 5 for 4, and you go Kitty, or you go Angela Snowguard and Jeff. And then last turn you play Legion to like turn off a bunch of locations, and you can still play Kitty, or like Shang-Chi and Kitty, and you win, right? Like, this deck should be great, even without Loki, but it's got the consistency because of America Chavez to hit Loki more often and win games of Marvel Snap. So, play the deck, it's really good. We've got one more. This is a Loki Hit Monkey deck that I think is cool enough to feature. I haven't played this yet, I'm not gonna lie. I was messing around, and this had like a really high win rate, 65% win rate. So I thought it was worth pulling. It's the highest win rate Hit Monkey right now. I love Shadow King right now. I think Shadow King is phenomenal at turning off not only Destroy and not only Collector, but an absolute ton of other nonsense that's just floating around the meta. Silver Surfers, Mysterio, so on. Be careful. It will make your Mysterio a 0 no matter what. But basically, you've got a nice Hit Monkey game plan, right? Like, you're playing Quinjet here, but you're not playing it to play it with but you're not playing Quinjet to play it with Loki, although like you could easily just I guess you could easily just still Loki. Your Quinjet and Collector are here largely because like you can go Quinjet into Collector into Bishop, and then like if you Moon Girl and Sarah, your last turn Hit Monkey is going to be sick even without Mysterio, and you're going to win a lot of games of Snap that way. I think I built a Hit Monkey Surfer that I've been talking about for a while that's won a lot. This is the exact same concept, except it's more all in on Hit Monkey, and it looks honestly like it might be better. Not 1,000% sold on Moon Girl here. Um, be completely honest, I think I might just want Moon Girl to be Coulson to keep the cost down. But even so, this deck should be really, really nice and really worth playing and checking out. If you would like one other Hit Monkey deck, well, I happen to have talked about one. Oh, excuse me. No, tomorrow morning I'm talking about a Hit Monkey. So if you're interested in Hit Monkey, make sure you check that out tomorrow morning. So should you open Spotlight caches tonight/tomorrow or whenever you're watching this, pick your verb tense. Yeah, I think so. I think if you're basically game complete, you open everything, right? Like if Alioth is the only card you're missing because you have both Snow Guard and Hit Monkey, you're probably pretty close to game complete. I think Alioth is powerful enough, and the next two cards are Series 4, so you should use tokens on them, that you should open Alioth. If you're missing Hit Monkey, I think Hit Monkey is worth having. I think Hit Monkey is, if not a meta card right now, likely to be one again relatively soon because it's a powerful, powerful effect. And every time something cheap comes out, Hit Monkey gets better. Is Snow Guard worth having? I think, like, without any question, yes. The bird is something that is extremely easy to play and extremely hard to play around, and a 1/2 that gives you 2 extra cards is just a really good rate. I think that you should get cards. I think Alioth is worth having. I think Snow Guard is worth having. I think Hit Monkey is worth having. I think that this is a week that you should be open. Thanks so much for watching. Check back tomorrow afternoon, not morning, for 2 more great decks. See you then. Peace.